did you feel about that?
I felt good. I almost felt better about it watching it than when I was doing it.
Okay. Do you feel better about doing it the second time than the first behavior rehearsal?
I definitely learned some things.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I learned some things.
Well, we'll talk about those. Let's go ahead and do the scoring real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So we both agreed that you met the first two.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked also how you used Axel's name several times throughout the whole interview. So during the brief explanation, did you feel like it went as fluid as I thought it did?
I didn't feel it was particularly fluid. I think when I was doing it, and it didn't seem quite as bad when I was watching it. So that's why I was saying I feel a little bit better about watching it than when I was actually doing it, because there were times where I felt like I was being really wordy, and where I could have been a lot more concise. Because there's a couple places where I felt that I would say, so tell me a little bit more about Axel, like blah 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 blah, or blah 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 blah, or blah 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 blah, and I could have cut off all those blah 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 blahs.
Well, and for a coach to a coachee, those are some things that I want to learn too, because I want it to be more fluid and more concise, not stumbling over my words or coming up with a whole bunch of extra stuff to talk about, so I understand.
Yeah, and I think part of that is just the talking while my mind is thinking about what I really want to do next. And instead of just stopping and thinking.
Right.
I just keep kind of...
And some of that's our personality, I think, too. But I did notice, though, you kept it under 30 minutes, and that was kind of wasn't a written skill in the rubric, but we did talk about how you wanted to kind of stay within that 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And you definitely did that.
Yeah.
So, if that's part of your concern, I don't know.
I know my only thought is some of the parents that I was thinking that I might ask to do this with, I thought, boy, I'm just going to have a hard time keeping them more concise. Like, okay, let's move on. Because sometimes it's hard to get the word in edgewise to try to move on, because they have a lot that they're very interested in saying.
And that's good. We're going to talk about that in another skill. So it's that kind of it's that fine line. When are you interrupting, and when are you giving them enough wait time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So where are we now?
On the conducting the interview, I've got all 5 questions in there.
And it was interesting how you did that last question, because it wasn't posed like, oh, and here's the next question. It was very, I don't know what the segue was that you used, but you were already talking about supports.
Well, and I really found that that was something that I really thought about when I saw you doing it, and then when I was talking with you, that it really just made sense to say who is supporting you in that difficult time. Since I just asked you, what's a hard time, and I'm asking you who the supports are, it just makes sense to say, so where are you getting support for that specific thing that you're finding difficult?
I really liked how you did that. And so she was talking about her sister, right? Yeah,
her sister was there.
Okay. So you got all 5 questions. Do you feel like you provided wait time for parents to answer the question?
I did.
Okay.
There was a couple times I caught myself kind of talking at the same time as her, and I would, she's the talker, not you, be quiet.
Yeah, I really didn't see you interrupting. It seemed like they were finished with what they were saying when you started talking. Yeah. And I know it's something that we always have to be watching. Clarifying understanding for parents. Well, especially when she asked the question, the one question, how do you envision your child in the future? And then she asked you,
like, how do I want to see him?
right.
How do I want him to be?
So you did a real good job. Just, validating, yes, that is what I'm looking for, and then still clarifying as you went along. Let's see. So definitely a met. Okay, then the debrief.
Boy, I really like having my notes that I can just go over and just look at each little section and say, so to hear what we were talking about, this is what you were talking about for this question, and this is what I'm seeing you guys doing, and I'm excited about learning on using this thing. It really, really helps to have a sheet there to take notes as I'm going.
Well, I have to take notes, and it would be really hard for me to go just try by memory to recall and then to give feedback from memory. So again, it goes back to your idea, the idea that you had to prepare them for that you're going to be writing, so that they know why you're writing, and make them more comfortable about that. Makes you more comfortable about that too.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. I thought you gave several examples.
Yeah, I talked about his shyness and seeing that shyness and using peer partners to try to help him connect with other kids. Like to knowing that they go out and do a lot of things, so I can ask them, what did you do this weekend, and try to help with those conversations, and then knowing that I can ask about Lisbeth and have that name and that connection of knowing somebody else who he's connected with, and then just refreshing on the, I know it's important for you that he enjoys school, and if you're ever hearing him, saying things that might indicate that he's not enjoying school, that let me know, so we can start talking about that right away, about what we might be able to do to help him out with that.
Okay. And especially the fact that you were sharing with her about sharing the mom as a teacher, and that hits home with me, because I was a family childcare provider with my son in the program, and boy howdy.
Yeah.
Okay, so definite met on that one, and then thanking the parents for the interview.
I did. Thank her for the interview, both for what I learned from Axel and just helping me practice.
And not assuming anything, even though
being
she
videotaped and all those extra little things that I know that she had to do.
right, and not just assuming that she knows how to reach you because she's here, but also giving her the card. So that's done the same way each time, Okay, so that was met, and number 6.
Number 6 was
was that offering contact
was
information.
the offering the card and invitation to pop in, and I did do that, showing her the hours so she
In
could
person.
drop in. Yeah.
Okay. All right. All met, and I just think videos are so powerful.
It really is. It's hard to get used to the thought of it being there, and it's weird watching yourself. But after a couple times, it really is easy to kind of get over that. And boy, you really can learn a lot from a video, watching a video.
Right. I just wanted to add too that, as you're speaking with her about not only is the child Axel, in your class, but also in X class, that you're really thinking ahead about what are some things that you can do for that situation, sharing these two teachers, and things that you were learning along the way, and why that's important.
Yeah, and then boy, that was something that I didn't know about him. I didn't know he had a hard time coming in the mornings, because I don't see him in the mornings.
Right, exactly.
So I didn't know that was something that he had a difficult time with.
Okay. So I think we went through the rubric pretty thoroughly, and the next thing I'd like to do is talk a little bit about how you want to implement the interview from here on in the future.
Well, what I'm thinking right now that I would like to do is maybe pare it down to just probably the first 3 questions and move off the last 2, and do that at either our first teacher conference next year, or do it at our home visits.
Okay, so I'm jotting notes down on the professional development plan for this.
Okay.
And so you want to take the first 3 questions.
Yeah, use the first 3 questions and either do that at home visits when we're doing those in August, or to do them, because home visits can be a little bit overwhelming with the amount of information. So I feel like I need to look at all the things that we need to get done and how are some other ways that we can have those things done. So that home visit could be, because I just think this would be so much more beneficial for me to be able to spend a little bit of this time with the parent, and then be able to spend a little bit of that one-on-one time with the kid.
Okay.
Playing with them to kind of get, which we always do, but without making the home visit this really long thing with 95 different tasks.
And that's at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, we do that before the first day of school. That's that's our first encounter with the kids, and that just helps us get the room set up for them.
Okay. And so at
either at that time or at the first teacher conferences of the year to be able to do that. But I think to really make that work, that it would need to be kind of first 3 questions, and then later on during the year, once we've kind of started building that, then add in those other 2, like maybe that second teacher conference of the year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not too late in the year, because the types of questions, they are referring back to the questions.
It's asking if there's a difficult part of the day, and then who they're turning to for support, and how we might be able to support.
Okay. And so do you feel like that would be soon enough, the second parent-teacher conference? About what time of the year is that?
That's actually happening in February. Our second teacher conference happens in February. If I can do the first part during home visits, then we could have that at the first teacher conference, which is October, end of October.
Okay.
Which would work well, but and I think realistically, just of how much stuff, paperwork and stuff has to get done. What can I not personally let go of, but logistically let go of, to be able to make room or time for this.
Well, and you have to think about all those things. Because they're all 5 questions are really good. You get a lot of information in how to support the parent. But I think that separating them like that into 2 different meetings might be more doable.
And I can see those first questions, especially the first 2, being really great groundbreakers for let's just start talking. and that I wouldn't be able to give a whole lot for the difficult part and who do you turn to support. Those would be a lot easier for me to address with a parent once I know a little bit about the kid
Okay.
myself.
Okay. Well, and you can always revisit it. You know, if the first year you feel like it's just working perfectly, then there you got it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and then and if you decide to tweak it, then you can do that. So, all right. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention about implementation?
I don't think so. I think I'll be able to start doing a little bit of that, and you know, it might not be all 5 questions, but I'll be able to start asking some of those questions definitely next year. And if I'm doing it during those 2 times, then I already have that built-in translator there, so I can do it with every family who were able to visit at their home, or every single parent who signs up for that teacher
Okay.
conference. And that's usually, we're like 99% on home visits, and it's usually around 85 to 90% on teacher conferences. So
All right.
that'll be really close to every single person.
Are there any more actions that you might want to add besides what we talked about for the interview itself, which has been your practice-based learning objective for this circuit?
Mm-hmm. I don't think so. I think it feels good in where it is and how it's flowing. I guess, just the idea of tying that in, the support question on the end, of tying it into the difficult part. And the only reason I wouldn't do that if they're like, no, we don't really have a difficult part of our day. Things move really, really slow. I mean, my thing moves really smooth was the word I was wanting to use.
Mm-hmm.
Things just really flow really smoothly. Then I'd say, okay, wonderful. So you as a family